Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today I'm going to give you a quick look at the Asus Z270 Maximus Extreme. Now, before the fanboy wars start, yes, it's a Z270 Intel board. Now, I know the reignited hatred between AMD and Intel fanboys has been kind of well and truly fueled all over again. But it's out, and it is still a big deal. So let's try and play nice for a second and just have a look what it is. And if you are an AMD fanboy, maybe what you can do is hope that there will be a version of it rather than just, you know, getting all so bent and twisted. Let's actually kind of work together for a change rather than arguing with each other. But anyway, so it is probably the most mental Maximus that I've ever seen. And I'm genuinely not kind of like overhyping that. So really, I think we should have a look inside the box. But just to let you know what's going on, the reason why I am giving you a preview on this is because I know there is going to be a lot of Ryzen stuff coming. I know that we've got Ryzen 5 coming. I've got a few more other boards that I need to get done before that as well. And I am going to be prioritising those. Plus, when you see this, this is a little bit more work than a normal motherboard would be. So I'm giving you the preview to whet your appetite, to let you see what's coming, and then I'll be back in a few weeks with the full review and the testing and the breakdown and the build. And yeah, but let's have a look what's inside the box. So it does look like all of the other Maximus boxes. I mean, well, Maximus boxes, the ROG boxes. We can stick the Ryzen one on the top for you. They look very similar. The lines almost line up. Anyway, so they look very similar. When we have a look down here, it says about the 3D mount. This is a very interesting logo because that's a Bits Power logo. I'm not sure if they've fallen out with EK. Who knows? Crossfire, SLI, Optane ready. Do you know what I mean? Aura Sync, all of the stuff. We flip around the back. I mean, if you haven't seen what this board is coming with, then you're going to be quite surprised when we actually get a look to, you know, dig inside the box itself. But that is something to keep in mind when we do get inside in a sec. I actually like the way these boxes open now as well, because it's almost a little bit more of the theatre in the fact that this kind of stays there and it tells you welcome to the Republic. But there's the board. Now this is the weird thing straight away, is the fact that it does just come like this. But it does make sense, and we'll explain that in a bit anyway. So when we get to the second section, it is actually a bit of a pain to get out. But we'll move everything out the way so that I can give you a good look at what's in here. So when we first open the box, first and most striking thing about what is in here is the water block. Now, it weighs an absolute ton. It's made by Bits Power. Now you can see there is a flow sensor there. There are lights and everything inside it as well. Here we have a USB connector and the RGB connector, and the USB connector is for all the flow and temperature stuff that's going on. I mean, this in itself, they say if you were to buy it individually, would be priced at somewhere between £150 and £200. So that's pretty much $150 to $200 at the moment, but it's a hell of a water block. Now what it does do is it cools your CPU, which is this bit here, but then you've got all the stuff around the outside to do the MOSFETs as well. And then there's also an add-on-y bit, which is down here, which you can use to cool your M.2 as well. So it's a pretty kind of covers almost everything kind of block, mount, whatever you would call it. Does come with its own fairly beefy, you know, mega chunky back plate as well. There's some like rubbery material on the back of the steel, but it's hella sturdy. So when you do get it all mounted, it saves any like warping or anything that's going on with the actual block itself. Also, this top section here, just to kind of give you an idea that if you were thinking about getting this as a project, this top can be unscrewed. So if you wanted to paint it, there's customizing options going on in there as well. Maybe you don't like the grey, maybe you don't like the ROG logo, do you know what I mean? whiz it off, give it a stand, chuck some etch primer on it, chuck some normal primer on it, chuck some colour, chuck some clear, bish bash, bish bash. You know, it's like Jamie Oliver. We're doing a bit of cooking, but there's some stuff there instantly straight away that you could do and you could play with. Other stuff that's going on inside the box, there are a plethora of thermal probes. Now, I do like thermal probes because obviously they do give you a window into your PC and then your software can pick up stuff. But the fact that you have the cables does make it messy. So if you do use these, try and go to every possible opportunity that you get and length to go to so that you can't see them, so that it doesn't spoil the looks. I've shown you the M.2 mount. You do also get inside the external fan stroke card. A lot of the time with boards, they have the headers for this, or they have the header for this, but you don't actually get it. So you do get this one in the box, and it basically, if you have a look on if you have a ROG board already and you've got some settings in the BIOS for extension fans, that's what they connect to. There's some fittings and stuff inside. There is your wireless and Bluetooth antenna. This is magnetic as well, and you can spin the ends round. You get the mounts for your 3D mounts if you were to get stuff made. Here we go, look, 3D printing mount, and these are your M.2 mounts. Something I can say that I am incredibly happy about, no driver disc. This is your USB utilities driver inside. So you get a ROG USB stick. I'm going to get it out. That's what she said. Come on! How hard is it to get a flipping USB stick out? There we go. So you get a tiny little ROG USB stick which has got all your drivers on. Finally, it is happening. I mean, that in itself, they get a thumbs up just for that. SLI bridge in there. CPU mount thingy, which is horrible. You get a RGB extension cable. There's a total of 8 SATA cables in there, and then you do get your user guide, placemat, and the most important thing is you do get a cable mod coupon for 20% off. Now, I've done this with every video that I've done so far, so I'm going to turn this over in a sec so that if anybody wants to use this code, they can do. Just please send me a message or jump on the forums when you get your cables. Please remember this code can only be used once, so it's first come, first served. Good luck to whoever gets it. That gives you 20% off, and I would love to see what you buy and what you use them for as well. So yeah, would very much like to see that if you do buy them. So yeah, please do let me know. Enjoy them if you don't, all of that kind of stuff. Share the love, say where you got them from, blah 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 blah. So back to the board itself. This is why the board comes without the block. It's because obviously you need to put your CPU in first, and you have to mount all the rest on around the outside. Little hint, if you wanted to, pop the CPU in without all the heatsink stuff. If you did want to go into the BIOS just to make sure it posted, I would advise that. You will need to put a cooler on your CPU, so maybe an old air cooler that you've got knocking around or something, just to make sure that it does post, because then when you think about it, if it does post, then you know it's all working, rather than getting it all built up, adding all your water cooling, blah, 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 and then finding out it doesn't. It's going to be very rare that it doesn't, but it's just a peace of mind. You do an air test before you go full water. So, you know, if you do that, it would be relatively advisable. I am seeing this rather large orange line all the way around the outside though. It goes right the way around the outside of the board as well. It's actually printed on the board itself. But anyway, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 phases in total. It's actually really weird for us to be able to see them. Now don't forget, this is being sold as water only, because you do need a water cooling kit. There is no just air option. I certainly wouldn't be using this totally bare like this for any length of time. An initial test, yes, but more than that, no, I wouldn't bother. This is a USB 2 connector at the top here. This is for your water cooling sensor that I said to you about before, and you've also got the RGB header at the top here for that as well. But around the outside of the board, there is a lot going on. I mean, up in this top corner, we've got Radic fan. There's DAB. Right, so we've got RAD1A. So these are rad fans, basically. I'll zoom you in. I thought it said RAID, but they actually say rad. So then if you have a look, A, B, C, D. So you can have 4 fans plugged in at the top. To be honest with you, I always use PWM splitters, but anyway. So then you get your PCI poster here, and then you can also see, if we zoom you back in again, I should have just left it there. You can see you've got your boot LED, your VGA LED, your DRAM LED, and your CPU LED. One thing I would say though is if you are overclocking, write down or take a note of what order these come in, so that then if it does stick, you don't have to get in there with a magnifying glass, so that you can see what's going on. Going down the outside though, what we can see is you've got the slow-mo switch, then you've got the, it says RSVD switch. That sounds like a sexual disease more than anything else. I have to find out what that does when we do the main review. Retry button, this is amazing. Sometimes, I love this, sometimes when you're doing an overclock, it looks like your overclock is frozen on boot, but you can smash the retry, and rather than resetting the system, and then when the system boots again, it goes into that window repair malarkey. This is just a very clean reset without it getting triggered into the operating system. Safe boot, you can actually set up a profile, so if you smash that button, it will boot up at that specific saved profile. That's really handy. Memo K, I still don't use that very much. It's lovely to see Asus catching up and having a horizontal 24 pin. How that has not been put on the boards yet, I do not know, but it's there finally, so you know, hooray. USB 3.1, we have chassis fan 2 there. Chassis fan 1 is actually over here, and there's a thermal sensor just above it. This is the M.2 that you can cool with the water block, although there is another one underneath here if you have a look. So there's another M.2 underneath this. It's just kind of shielded. This is all RGB as well, although the actual water cooling block is RGB as well. There is a horizontal USB 3 there. You get 8 SATAs down the side. That's where your extension fan would go. And then you've got a BIOS switch here. This is to switch between the BIOSes, not to clear the BIOS. Front panel headers, speaker header. I mean, this here, look, you can see all these little connectors here. These are all the power for all of these. So basically, we've got RAD2 fan, A, B, C and D. So you've got another 4 rad fans down at the bottom here. Then you've got water pump 1 and water pump 2 here. These 2 little white groups here, these are your temperature sensors for your water, and this is a flow sensor for your water as well. So you've got a big water cooling section here because you've got 2 pumps, 2 thermal probes for the water, and then you've got a water flow sensor as well. You've got 4 radiator fan switches. You've got your ROG output here. This is a USB 2 header, but just a little cheat for you. So is that one if you wanted to use that as well. So you have got 2 USB 2s if you don't use the ROG header. Coming along, you get your TPM sensors. You've got your RGB header out here. So you've got one there and you've got one there, but you do need to think about the fact that you're probably going to be using that for the water block. So if you want to use more than one of the external headers, you may want to think about getting yourself a splitter. You can use any RGB splitter as well. Molex out, audio down the side, Japanese capacitors, all that sort of stuff. This is RGB as well, all controlled by the board. You get the I/O plate on the back, pre-fitted, which does look rather nice. It's only shiny because it does still have the plastic cover on it. But round the back we can see that we've got the clear CMOS button is here, BIOS flashback is here. This is the BIOS flashback header, you can see it's quite clearly marked. Strangely, they've still left the HDMI and the display port on the back on such an extreme board. Now that might be handy if stuff was to die, but I think personally I would have favoured sacking those off and just having a load more USBs there maybe. But anyway, we've got a USB 3.1 here, Type C and the A. And then you've got 6 USB 3s, gigabit Ethernet, and then you've got gold-plated audio connectors there for your audio. So there is an awful lot going on with that board, and it's going to be a fair bit of work to do it because obviously there's going to be a fair bit of building that needs to go on. So maybe you can understand why I thought I would share and give you a quick look at it first. I am, though, very excited to be working with this, but just when things calm down a little, because like I've said to you, I'm going to be favouring the Ryzen stuff for a little bit because it is very new and this is still Z170. At the end of the day, with something like this, it's really going to come down to aesthetics and your wallet, because there's an awful lot of stuff on the board, but I would be amazed if this makes my CPU overclock any more than I have. It's pretty much just an all singing, all dancing board that at the end of the day comes with a water block. It's the type of thing that it's just going to be the heart of your project. It might not stress, be so stressed about overclocking, and obviously with the water block it's going to drop temperatures and all that sort of thing, but I very much doubt whether it's going to blow any performance records, although I could be entirely wrong, but we shall see. I think it's just a lot of Gucci add-ons, because let's face it, that block is a work of art, and I'm certainly excited to get that and look at the flow rates and look at the temperatures and all that sort of stuff, because yeah, that's it. It's basically ROG on steroids. That's what it is, or on speed, performance enhancing something, Viagra. Yeah, that. We'll go with that. What is Viagra anyway? I don't know. So that's your sneaky peeky look. Like I said, it is going to be coming, but I know it's going to be a few weeks, so I wanted to get something out to tease you first. Keep an eye open on my Facebook and my Instagram, because when things do start to get built and do start to trickle in, I will be pummeling stuff up there. So keep an eye, and when things start to happen, you'll know when the review is going to be eventually getting worked on. Deep breaths, Thomas. Anyway, for now at least, this has been the tiniest of Logans. Out. What? No.